Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another hour with the Melbourne Coptic Youth radio program. Hope you are tuned in on CYC and Pensortier on 3ZZZ 92.3 FM every Thursday from 2 to 3 p.m. Your hosts for today, Thursday, April the 5th, 2012, Marina Sadiq, Natalie Bishara, Yuli Dematosian, and yours truly, John Megala. This week's discussions are on Passions of the Christ, in which we will discuss trials and tribulations we face each day, Judas' betrayal and how it's relevant to us in this day and age today, and how to prepare for Passion Week. As always, today's podcast could be found on 3ZZZ.com.au for the next week and on YouTube as Tuned In on Coptic Youth channel. If you're not already a member or posting, please ensure that you hop online and join our Facebook page. Also email any feedback and requests on copticyouthradio@gmail.com. As for now, sit back and enjoy the coming hour. Today's discussions, we're going to focus on Passions of the Christ. So right now we'll be discussing from a trials and tribulations point of view. So basically everyone's faced with this every day, whether it's at school or uni, places we go, people we meet and talk to. So we're going to sort of discuss it from a point of view where a lot of people can feel, if they're going through a hard time or a certain sort of thing, it can become bitter or a lot of anger can sort of occur. We want to sort of try also and discuss sort of the opposite of that, how you can sort of switch that around to something joyful, something that I'm going through this because, or it's something behind it. So we're going to open up to the floor and everyone's going to sort of have their say and sort of discuss it a bit further. So Juliana, Marina and Natalie, what do you guys think? Obviously you've gone through a lot of this stuff, uni or,
I really liked how you said changing your trials into something good, like having a good perspective on the outcome. Like obviously I think the youth, all of us would go through peer pressure at university, where we feel like we're pressured by our friends to go out, drink, or like even staying pure, even though that might not be a problem for us now, but it could be something that others feel. And so I think these trials, they could help you discover yourself, realize who you are as a person, that no, that's not what I want to do. I'm going down this path. And
you see that strength in you, and you become more towards that. So I think that's very important to mention.
And that helps your relationship grow with God, because that's strengthening your relationship. And it's like shaking you up a bit, like you were saying that it's like a wake-up call.
Yeah, but in saying that as well, there's a fine line between trials and tribulations and just putting yourself in your own troubles. And so we were saying that sort of going out and doing something wrong and then being in a situation where you are in trouble, that's sort of self-inflicted. That's something that you've chosen to do and that's your issue. So at the end of the day, you can't be like, God, why have you done this? Because it wasn't a tribulation sent by God. It was a decision that you made, and and so we were saying that a trial and tribulation will come from God and will shake you up, and it is there to test you. But there's a fine line between inflicting your own troubles.
Before we started recording, we were discussing this, and we were saying how the difference between like a trial and tribulation and self-inflicted situations, troubles, would be like you walk into a bar, you get into a fight. Why, God, did you send this guy my way to punch me in the face?
It's something that's expected.
You walked into the bar, God didn't. And like what we were saying is, if you walk into somewhere where God isn't walking in with you, then you're technically on your own. So you should be expecting trouble.
God didn't force you into the bar or send
you
there.
He didn't walk in with you. He left you at the door, and you walked in on your own.
Yeah.
So
He's given us all brains and wisdom, and we need to make the right
and free
decisions.
will.
Exactly.
Whereas if you were like, how we were saying, like if you're helping out the poor and some poor guy comes up to you and kind of like insults you, showers you in insults, punches you in the face. I that's probably at the same time God sent it your way, depending on what you did to provoke it at the same time. Like, don't provoke trouble and call for it and then say, why, God, did you send it my way? But at the same time, I can't remember the verse, or if it's a saying, but there's something that says, God can turn anything into good. Just when you call to God, he'll turn it into good.
Just on that, I'll just stop here. I just want to read a lovely verse I was just looking at before from James chapter 1, verse 2. So, profiting from trials. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith with no doubting, for he who doubts is like a wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. For let not the man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. So I guess that message, like we can't expect to go to certain places, where we know there's trouble, or, you've got wisdom and this sort of thing, and then when something happens, first thing you'll be angry or blame God, or why has it happened to me? That's sort of, like you were saying, self-inflicted and things where they happen for a reason.
But when everything's going your way and you think, God's like, you're in a happy place,
and you're all cool, and
you're like, God loves me,
and you're winning every day.
And then something out of the blue happens.
That's probably because you're falling asleep. That's probably, I reckon, because you're kind of like just starting to mellow down, kind of think that you deserve all this, you're doing well in life. So kind of God, we were talking how God will do this sometimes to remind you of who he is, who you are, and kind of take you to that next level.
And he's warned us, look, there's going to be times where the sun shines and everything's going perfect, and other days there's not going to be that. And he's told us you're going to go through trials and tribulations. And it's at that point where we meet these trials and tribulations, how we act as characters. As,
also, like when you're sitting on a level and you're sitting, in a spiritual place, like when you're
stable
and you're constantly praying and stuff, but you're just at that one level, like you haven't moved, you haven't advanced.
It's like plateau. You want to move up.
Exactly. You haven't been there, you haven't gone further. God's sort of like, okay, like Natalie, you're doing well here, but I want you to be somewhere else. And so that's when he sends in like trials and tribulations.
To get to know you better.
And he'll never give you something that you can't handle or get through. Like it's, he's not going to put you in that position sort of thing. So we just have to have more faith. We have to trust in him and submit ourselves fully to him.
Yeah, I like how in the verse it used the word testing and how that you shouldn't have doubts, because tests, they come for a reason. They're not random. So everything that God gives us is, he obviously has a reason behind it. It's not random, and therefore you shouldn't doubt it, because he's obviously put you in that position for a reason. He knows that you can do something about it, and that he's testing you. And like tests are not random, so he has a reason behind it, and that's the trial. He wants to push you forward, and he's obviously going to put you in a better place. God will never want to.
Okay, so realistically, what can people do? So obviously this is faced with everyone every day. Some are harder than others, trials and tribulations. What ideas, things can people do? So
quickly on that note for the testing, I once heard something really, really good. It said the teacher's always quiet while the test is running. Because, while the test is running, we feel like God's absent or something. But the thing is, what does the teacher do at the end? He comes in with the result. He'll be like, all right, this is the result of that trial. This is the result of this test. So now that on the outcome, when we're talking about it, John, once the outcome comes, like what is that outcome? We were talking about it, we're saying it brings you closer to God. It brings you to what Natalie was saying. You might know God, but this is a relationship. You want to always be getting to know them more on an intimate level.
Exactly. And that's very important on that. Like there's a lot of people who go through, they go to church every week and go through, the youth meetings, but that closeness, that personal relationship where you can feel that you can speak to God anywhere, anytime, in the middle of a classroom or at work, and that's the actual relationship that we sort of want to focus on.
And I find that I don't know what you girls think, and John, you guys, I think sometimes we'll have a problem, say you got, you're out of a job, and then you think that God's, you've been applying on seek.com for the last 9 months.
Who hasn't?
And the day that you give up, the way God solves the problem is in the way that you never saw coming. So I think that's why when we know that what's impossible to us is so possible and easy to God.
He works in mysterious ways, and look on that, we have to, I mean, what I find personally, like if I'm going through a trial or tribulation or having a hard time, you question yourself more. So you ask yourself a lot of questions, what have I done here? What's brought this on? What can I get out of it? Or does that make sense?
Yeah, you get to know yourself more.
Yeah,
Rennie, you were talking about that before, about getting to know yourself more. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I just found, like, from personal experience, when I'm put into this trial or obviously by God, I feel like I learned more about myself, like the way that I took it, the way that I dealt with it, the strategies that I went through, or like what I learned. Obviously, you learn more about yourself, and you're like, you discover things that you probably didn't know, that like you are more eager to do things, you want to learn things, so you obviously learn about it, and
you sort of discover things that
you didn't even know.
You didn't even know you needed or wanted, and you're like, and it just comes from a totally different directions where you were looking, and you're like, like God, like, whoa, you gave me this thing that I didn't even see coming. I didn't even think that I needed, but or wanted, and you just,
it's beyond what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We see things from our point of view, but it's different to obviously God's plan. He shows us things, things that we'd never expect.
Yeah.
And trusting in Him, I think we thank Him for that. So His will is working through us and for us. Like what we think we need something, and maybe we're all confident about it, and it's great. He could have totally different plans for us.
Yeah. We were saying how also just before how when you're going through a tribulation, you start looking for God. Like you'll start seeking God, and even if you're not actually close. Like we're talking about having a stable relationship with God. Some people, they won't even have a relationship with God. So God puts a trial and tribulation in there to get them closer. Yeah. So we're saying that there was a verse in Jeremiah 23:13, and it says, "You will look for me and find me when you look for me with all your heart." So He's saying, I'm there. Just look for me and you'll find me.
Knock and I'll answer.
Look with a passion and you'll find me. And that's not the only verse in the Bible that says, it's
mentioned a few times.
Yeah, it's said so many times, knock and it'll be open to you, blah, 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 all that. There's so much stuff like that. There's so many verses.
Yeah. Like even just like, because this verse hit me the other day, like, and it's still with me, continuing on from Jeremiah, where he says, "For I know the plans that I have for you, they're like plans for you to prosper and great plans for us." So He knows us intimately. He knows everything for us, and He's got it all set from the day we were born to the day we die. He knows what we're going to do. And so I just find that really astonishing. Like, He can put our talents to use, and He knows things that we don't even know we want or like know we need. And like how you're saying, Natalie, and I think that's just amazing. And it just hit me the other day. And
so this is I think for me, this is the main point out of all this discussion, is to seek the will of God, submit yourself to Him fully, and He knows what you need without you even saying it to Him. He's God, like He knows what your needs are and what you want to sort of thing.
And just on a note to end.
Yep.
I got this advice from my confession father once, and it's kind of like stuck for me for good. Like now, I think it'll get me through any problem. It says that he goes, when you go through a tribulation, don't think about the outcome, like the worldly outcome. Kind of like take your eyes off this world and say, well, I'm not even like from this earth. Why? It's like almost like being at a hotel, like a holiday house, and then you're so worried about that holiday house. But you're going back to your home anyway, so you take your eyes off and know that you're going back to heaven, hopefully. But you're going back to heaven. So once you do that, He goes, almost like God will be like, all right, that's exactly where I wanted you to get to. That's the solution to your problem.
And when you're at that level, nothing else matters in this world.
Yeah.
Everything you look at, that's nice, yes, but this is my God. That's at that level, like where you just feel happy and joyful, whatever comes your way. Sort of
You're
thing.
all good.
Yeah. So we're going for a quick break now, guys. We'll be back to discuss in regards to Judas' betrayal and how it's relevant to us in this day and age. Now we'll be focusing on Judas' betrayal, how it's relevant to us today, in our lives, in regards to the topic, obviously, of the Passion of Christ. So, Judas' betrayal, and obviously we've got a very forgiving God, and there was a certain story in the Bible about Matthew, how he said, Jesus, I'll follow you to death, and he denied Him 3 times. And then he felt sad and bitter afterwards, but he came back to God and he was forgiven. And then there's the side of Judas, who betrayed Jesus and obviously, hanging himself after that. So we want to open it up to the floor once again and discuss this. Juliana?
Yep. I wanted to start off by saying, we wanted to see how God dealt with it when he was betrayed. Because Jesus, like, how did he feel? Because don't forget, he was a human being. He did have his own feelings, and he had a special bond with these people. His disciples became like, think of it as your best friend, like even family. So, he was literally betrayed by the ones closest to him. So how did Jesus deal with it? He didn't, like, when you get betrayed, what do? You don't betray me. I would kill you.
Start to plot revenge.
Yeah. I'm sitting down with my notebook and my pen and I'm planning your death. Jesus was very, like, calm, collected. He kind of just looked up, prayed about it, forgive him. That was it. So looking about that, what do you, like, how when people betray us, how should we act? What do you girls do, Marina?
Can't necessarily say that I'm very calm at the very instant.
So I'm planning their death.
No, obviously I don't think we're comparable to Jesus at that moment at all. But I can see what you're saying, that he was very calm and that in a way that he dealt it, like, diplomatically. But no, we're not going to do that. Like, I'm saying it black and white, we're not going to do that. And especially girls, we're not going to do that. We're all about backstabbing and whatnot. And
Maybe you're not kidding.
But no, it is very hard to find that peace inside yourself and to forgive and forget. It is very hard to do that. But that's why I think confession comes in. That's where you go and talk to a Abuna, and he finds that. He helps you discover that inner peace and find you that little bit of closure that you can go speak to the person. Because sometimes you don't know the whole story, and
he could end up being your best friend, or you get along really well. There's always that first test or tribulation between two people.
Or a misunderstanding.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a habit, myself as well, of just blowing things up to huge proportions.
You're talking to three girls.
But it's like, rather than, like, obviously you have to speak to confession father and everything, but is there a way that in the moment we can actually, like, deal with it, like, in the actual moment, instead of, because I know, like, I go, like, I just don't, like, I get cold.
I don't like dealing with it.
Cold, and I, like, detach myself.
Yeah, I don't like dealing with it.
I think the main thing is, it might sound sort of stupid, but look, approach the person directly, face to face, and just sort of question, or
I end up yelling at them.
It's not in all situations, but
stay away from them for a while.
Or stay away.
No, I think what we're missing out on here is that, or what the point we were trying to get to is that there's two types of betrayals right now. We're so aware when we betray each other as human beings. Like, I will be so aware if I've betrayed John or not. But what the thing is, I reckon we betray God every day. Every day, maybe once a minute.
And a lot of the time we don't know it.
Unknowingly.
We're not even conscious of it. Like, it's so second nature to us, like, which is the horrible thing.
And that's why, every night, after you pray, just contemplate on your day, what did I do today? What good did I do? Or what bad things I did. Just have that understanding and awareness of yourself. I think is very important.
We're talking about the outcome, guys. We're talking about Judas. I was listening to a topic on hope. Pope Shenouda gave a sermon on hope, and I did not believe, I couldn't believe how much it's so necessary to have hope in your life. Judas, gave up on. He didn't believe that there was any hope for him. So what did he end up doing? He committed suicide. Peter, on the other hand, he thought, I believe that there's hope. It says in the Bible, faith, hope, and love, they're the most important things. Hope is one of them. Like, you never ever realize that hope can be so important in life. You have to. Peter believed that he's going to be saved, that when he went back to God, he will be forgiven.
I found this part on the internet. It says that Peter, despite his protest, he denied his Lord, and that he faced his own appalling guilt and he wept. And because of that, that was the beginning. You would think, after he denied Jesus, that was it, that's the end, failure. But it's more of the success that came out of it. From that, you can teach yourself to trust in God and love your Lord no matter what you've done, and to learn from your mistakes. So I think that's what Peter took. He got success out of that failure.
He learned his lesson from trials and tribulations.
It's so much easier to be like, it's the end. That's it. I can't go back now. But
there's a lesson to be learned.
Go back and face what you did. And
I think very importantly on that's at that exact time where you should go back, where all these sins and all these wrong works and people, going out and all this sort of stuff can build up to a huge level. and then you say to yourself, "Oh, I've done too many mistakes," or I'm embarrassed to stand in front of God. And at that point is, I think, the most important thing where we should pray and stick to that. Like,
because I think that's when God uses you the most.
Yes, you
It's
will
at
see
that
His
very
power
vulnerable
where
moment.
you're at that lowest point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's quite hard. I see what you're saying, John, but it's
hard,
quite
yeah.
hard to, like, when you're at your most vulnerable moment,
course.
to, like, go back.
But when you're at your most vulnerable, like, who else are you actually going to turn to? Like, you.
Yeah.
But you have so much guilt, you just can't even stand and face the Lord and pray.
But at the same time, don't they tell you to be honest with God? Like, that's what I find the best way to be, is honest with God.
Yeah.
Like, when I feel guilty, I reckon the best thing to say, I am so guilty right now, God. I'm so embarrassed to talk to you.
So admit your guilt.
Well, you have to remember as well, God
Instead
was
of-
there.
yeah.
He saw everything.
He knows it.
Instead
Like,
of denying it, he
don't
knows
even
it
need to
before you
admit-
tell him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're kind of hiding yourself from someone that you've already committed the sin in front of. That's a little hard.
So you're just hiding it from yourself.
Yeah.
It's actually, that's it. Like,
You're just
it's
hiding it
within
from yourself.
yourself, realizing what you've done.
You know that if you say it out loud, it's reality.
That's
and you
true.
kind of deny it.
That awareness is very important. Yeah, we need to sort of, pray to God to sort of forgive us again, and
Yeah.
and it's a cycle. It's a cycle. It can happen 10 times a day. It can happen 20 times a week. It's not, yep, I'm going to go to church every week and I'll be fine. Or there's going to be these times where there's no sunshine, but you've got that hope in God, and you're praying and you're committed. And He's a very forgiving God. Like He'll accept anyone that comes back to Him. Anyone, no matter what they've done. And you just need to give your heart to Him, and He'll.
So I think, guys, as Christians, what we are learning is that you should just, whatever you've done, whatever betrayal, because we were saying before how every time you commit a sin, every time you betray God, it's as if a nail's going in.
Exactly.
And going into Passion Week.
Yep.
We better remember that. That's not something that happened thousands of years ago. We still hurt Him every day.
Yeah.
So, the same way God accepted Peter, He just accepted the situation and just prayed to God.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we should do. You know what? We betray ourselves a lot too.
No,
I
a
just
lot.
think
Yeah.
that. Yeah. We betray ourselves.
By doing things that you don't want to do, you're betraying your own.
Even
betraying
like within
yourself,
yourself, when you do things, you're like, nah, it's nothing. Like, I didn't do
You
it.
convince yourself
exactly.
it's okay.
It's the biggest sort of mind game ever. Like,
So we just accept it, and I guess just submit it to God and say, this is what I've done wrong, or this is what this person's betrayed me. I'm feeling, I'm going to kill this person. Take that feeling out of me.
Take that step back. Yeah.
Yeah,
just
let
sort of
God take over a
let
little
God
bit.
deal with it, yeah.
Like Pope Judas said, let God speak. Let God fight for you.
Yeah.
I reckon.
He'll get your sort of
Yeah.
So, okay, guys. So we will wrap this topic up, and we'll come back after this lovely hymn. Further discussions in regards to how to prepare for Passion Week, which is coming up very shortly. Now we're going to focus on how to prepare for Passion Week. So, in regards to our main topic today of Passions of Christ, I'm going to hand this one straight over to Natalie. She had a good story in our break. So, Natalie.
Yo, everybody.
What are you doing for Passion Week?
So basically, Passion Week actually starts like on the Sunday after the Mass, when we do the Prayer of the Dead, and I always make the same joke every year, which is, thank you for coming to my funeral. And everybody laughs. They laughed the first time. And then, so basically, guys, get off Facebook. I'm sorry if your birthday's on during the week, because no one's going to say happy birthday. No, but seriously, do get off Facebook. There's so many propaganda, and she did this and he did that. No one cares. It's, Passion Week. And it's such a good week to really just like detach yourself from the world. So no music, no Facebook.
No life.
And even in the car, like if you've got your normal radio, just pop a CD in and listen to that.
Him.
Yeah, I'm saying like if you listen to your normal like radio.
Or if you've got a spiritual book or
Exactly.
something like that.
Read it while you're driving.
Not while driving, John.
No, not when you're driving. Not when you're driving.
Do you want us to text while driving too?
No.
Yeah, you'll be.
Yeah. For Passion Week, I agree with Natalie. I think you gotta. To me, it's not like if you're not really addicted to Facebook and you're the type of person that goes on once a month.
Yep.
There's no point of like saying
It's not this
Exactly.
time of the month that you need to go on.
You don't have to say this week I'm not going to go on Facebook, because the chances of you going on were very unlikely.
Yeah.
But I think you have to give up something that you are really attached to, like a worldly thing that you're really, really attached to.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
I think if you detach. Is it detach?
Detach.
Yeah.
Detach. Or
Detach yourself from the world, like from a worldly thing.
Yep.
You're more likely to overcome any sort of sin.
Yep.
Like, so to me, it is music. I'm so big on like music.
Yeah, you walked in today with your headphones in, man. You weren't listening to
I was on the phone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah. So I think that's to me. It's not going to be right. God's like dying on the cross, and I'm listening to my R&B music. So.
Yeah, definitely.
To me that doesn't make sense. I think, this week, just really detach yourself from anything worldly. And Abuna Habib Gerges gave a talk on Sunday. Yeah, and he said that the best way to deal with Passion Week is to go through the process with God, with Jesus. So you do your daily readings, really live in the moment as if he almost said it like, if you have, God forbid, a family member that's going through like cancer, you're literally living with them the pain, like every process, chemo, whatever, till Badashar, the end point where they die, and you really feel that grief and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you go through that with God in Passion Week, do the readings, believe that what he's going through, it's true, that he is dying, that he is, doing this for us. And yeah. What about you, Marina?
Well, ever since I was a young little girl, there was a point. I've been watching The Passion of Christ, and long before The Passion of Christ was filmed, there was Jesus of Nazareth, and I still have my 3 VCR tapes, the part 1, part 2, part 3, and now that Passion of Christ has been released, we watched that during the Holy Week, and I like it because I'm that visual person where I want something to watch and put a story to it, and it heightens your emotions, and during that week you're very sensitive when it comes to these things, and it's just a pivotal moment where you get it. And so I really that's what I do. So I'm ready to watch the movie. It's there, and that's what I do during the Passion Weeks, and hopefully, yes, I'll give up on Facebook. Maybe draw something.
Everything.
Get off, draw something on your iPhone.
No one draw anything next week. Stop drawing. Architects, no.
That's it. Yeah, excellent. Myself, I'm sort of similar to you, Marina. Yeah, in regards to Passion of the Christ movie, it always sort of comes to mind around this time, and just to sort of see what Jesus went through for us. Myself, I'm taking that week off from work and might be spending some time in the monastery.
Wow.
So turn off all the Facebooks and the mobile phones, and just sort of have that focus.
Go back to basics with God.
Definitely.
Just go back to remember God and what he's going through. And to me, it's really hard to believe that he's doing this for me. I just look at yes, I do watch Passion of the Christ too. Yeah. Yeah.
You're not the only one, Marina.
Yeah, not like whoa.
It was made for you, Marina.
We didn't see that one coming. Yeah. I think I look at it and I'm like, you really did that for me? You didn't even know me back then. You have no idea.
But he did.
He did, but I didn't even know who I was.
It's so much harder to look at that and then rather than just look at the big picture.
And the pain, the process. To me, it's I look at St. Mary in the movie and I'm like, I can't believe that's your son. That's your son. And whoa. To me, I just looked at it and I'm like, whoa, I am horrible.
It's such a difficult thing, and I just want to mention, look, it's not just Passion Week where we need to do all this. This is a lesson to us, through our whole lives. It's not this time of the year where everyone's spiritual and just focusing on, and leaving everything. But we have to take a lesson from this and live like this. So in general, I know we'll have to still use our mobile phones and stuff like that. But I think that's very important. I mean, I want to put that message across that we need to, take sort of a lesson from this and become like this, always.
Yeah,
I want to quickly also, John, I wanted to say there is a sermon by Abuna Anthony and Abuna Paul Gerges and Abuna Pshoy Andrawas from America.
Yep.
They gave a few sermons, a whole set of sermons on Passion Week. They go through every hour kind of with you, and it starts off with Palm Sunday, part 1. It's Palm Sunday by Abuna Anthony.
Yep.
I recommend everyone should listen to it. He really it makes you go, the general funeral prayer. He says that's not just a general funeral prayer, just in case you die during that week, doing anything.
Yep.
It's supposed to be that you're dying and being created new again. That week, you die on Sunday, and you give a chance for God to create you new again during that week.
Exactly.
So, to me, that was really good advice, and I really wanted to try and take it on this week, during Passion Week. So I recommend that everyone should listen to it.
The most powerful force in life, love. The greatest asset, faith. the most powerful channel of communication, prayer. The most important thing in life, the power of God. The greatest joy, giving. The worst to be without, hope. The most destructive habit, worry. The world's most incredible computer, the brain. The greatest loss, the loss of self-respect. The greatest natural resource, youth. The ugliest personality trait, selfishness. The greatest problem to overcome, fear. The most beautiful attire, a smile. The two most powerful filled words, I can. The most worthless emotion, self-pity. The greatest shot in the arm, encouragement. The most effective sleeping pill, peace of mind. The most prized possession, integrity. The most satisfying work, helping others. And the greatest attitude, gratitude.
Okay, guys, that concludes this week's hour of Coptic Youth Radio program from Melbourne, Pennsylvania on 3ZZZ 92.3 FM and tuned in on CYC channel. I hope you enjoyed listening in. If you've missed any part of this segment or would like to hear it again, you can always access today's podcast on 3ZZZ.com.au for the next week and on YouTube as tuned in on the Coptic Youth channel. If you're not already a member or posting, please ensure that you hop online and join our Facebook page. Any email feedback requests can be sent to copticyouthradio@gmail.com. Thank you.